No one expected such a scene. Donald Trump was walking down one of New York's most luxurious streets when suddenly a voice stopped him. A young man with frayed clothes and a tired but defiant look in his eyes addressed Trump directly. His words were clear, but even more impressive was Trump's reaction. In a few minutes, an ordinary encounter turned into a historic confrontation. But what no one could have predicted was that Trump would emerge from the conversation a changed man. The rain had stopped hours ago, but the streets were still slick with the remnants of an evening downpour. Neon lights from the towering buildings reflected off the pavement, creating an eerie, almost cinematic glow. The city never truly slept, but certain corners of it were forgotten, pushed aside by the rush of power and progress. Donald Trump was walking briskly down one of these less-traveled streets, his signature suit still crisp despite the humidity in the air. He had just left an exclusive fundraiser, an event filled with billionaires, politicians, and socialites discussing the future of the country over glasses of the finest champagne. But now, he found himself in unfamiliar territory. His driver was supposed to meet him on the next block, but something about this part of town felt off. It was a side of the city he rarely saw. Trash littered the sidewalks. Storefronts with flickering open signs were barely hanging on, their glass windows smudged and unclean. A stark contrast to the opulence he was used to. That's when he heard it. A voice, sharp, defiant, and filled with an unmistakable weight, cut through the quiet. "Man, you walk around like the whole world owes you something." Trump stopped. He turned toward the source of the voice, his expression unreadable. Sitting against the wall of a run-down bodega was a young man, maybe in his early 20s. His skin was dark, his clothes tattered but layered, as if he had mastered the art of staying warm with whatever he could find. His eyes, however, were sharp, too sharp for someone who should have been beaten down by life. Trump raised an eyebrow. "You talking to me?" The young man smirked. "Ain't nobody else out here wearing a suit that costs more than my whole life." Trump adjusted his cufflinks, more amused than offended. "You don't know what my life is worth, kid," the young man scoffed. "I know exactly what it's worth to people like you." There was something about his tone that made Trump pause. This wasn't just a random street rant. There was history in this boy's voice, something deeper. "What's your name?" Trump asked, his voice laced with curiosity. The young man hesitated. "Does it matter?" "It does if you're going to lecture me in the middle of the street." A brief silence passed between them. Finally, the young man exhaled. "Malik." Trump nodded. "All right, Malik. Why don't you enlighten me on what you think you know?" Malik studied him for a moment, then shook his head with a chuckle. "You really want to do this?" Trump crossed his arms. "Try me." Malik leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on his knees. "All right. You see, I grew up in this city, too. Not in no penthouse, not with no silver spoon. My mom worked 2 jobs just to keep a roof over our heads. My pops? Gone before I even knew what a dad was supposed to be. And you? You were born into money, into power. You ever had to sleep on a subway train just to keep from freezing to death?" Trump remained silent. "You ever had to fight just to be noticed? Not 'cause you wanted fame, but because if people don't see you, you disappear?" Malik's voice had an edge now. "Nah, man. You been seen your whole life. You ain't never had to wonder if your voice mattered." Trump exhaled, shaking his head slightly. "So what? You want pity?" Malik let out a bitter laugh. "Nah. That's the difference between me and you. I don't expect nothing from nobody. I had to build myself From nothing. You? You talk about how hard you worked, but you don't even know what it means to start at zero. Trump's jaw tightened. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what we've been through, Malik shot back. You talk about the American dream like it's just a choice, like if we just work hard, we'll all make it. But it ain't that simple. You ever been turned away from a job just because of the way you look? You ever had someone cross the street 'cause they saw you walking toward 'em? You ever had cops stop you for no reason, just to remind you who's really in charge? Trump hesitated. Malik's expression darkened. Yeah, didn't think so. For the first time in the conversation, Trump didn't have a quick response. The words lingered in the air between them, heavy and undeniable. You know, Malik said, shaking his head, I wasn't always out here. I tried, did all the right things, got good grades, kept my head down, played by the rules. But the rules ain't made for people like me. You mess up once, one mistake, and the whole system turns its back on you. Trump frowned. What happened? Malik exhaled through his nose. Lost my job, couldn't pay rent. One thing led to another. And now I'm here. Trump studied the young man, seeing him differently now. For the first time, the situation wasn't just another political debate. It wasn't just numbers on a report or policies in a speech. This was real. A long silence passed before Trump finally spoke. What do you want? Malik blinked, caught off guard. What? I'm asking you, Malik. If you could change something right now, what would it be? Malik hesitated. No one had ever asked him that before. People usually assumed they already knew the answer. He looked away for a moment, then back at Trump. I'd want a chance, a real one. Not just a speech about how I should pull myself up by my bootstraps when I ain't even got boots. Trump nodded slowly. Another beat of silence. Then, almost reluctantly, Trump reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a business card. Come to this address tomorrow, he said. Ask for me. Malik stared at the card, then back at Trump, skepticism in his eyes. Why? Trump exhaled. Because maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know what it's like to be you. But that doesn't mean I can't do something about it. Malik took the card, still unsure whether to believe it. If you're messing with me... You'll know where to find me, Trump interrupted. For the first time that night, a small smirk tugged at Malik's lips. Yeah, I guess I will. Trump nodded once, before turning to walk away. As he stepped into his waiting car, he stole one last glance at Malik through the window. Maybe he had been wrong about some things. Maybe there was more to success than just hard work and determination. Maybe, just maybe, he had a responsibility beyond his own ambitions. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, he was willing to listen.